all set.
Okay, good evening, and welcome to the Town of Dayton's Board of
Hold
Select.
on, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about
Well, I
that.
take that back, it's not a good evening.
Recording in progress.
All right, sir.
Okay, once again, good evening. This is the Town of Dayton's Board of Selectmen's regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 28th at 6 o'clock p.m. This meeting is in person and via Zoom at Old Town Hall, 1111 Somerset Ave, Dayton, Mass. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and the other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. And can we please have a call to order?
Nicole Mello, present.
Mark Pacheco, present.
And Peter Karen is here. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm just going to ask you to stand for just a moment of silence for Charles Mello, who we lost this week. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like I said, we lost Charles Mello this week, so if we just stand for 10 or 15 seconds, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. We'll get into scheduled appointments. Mark, you're up first. Oh, you have a presentation for us?
I do. Okay. And then I will. You want me to say that? Okay, nice. Keep going. Thank you. Hello. All right. Thanks for having me. So I'm here to talk about the library, where we're at, how things are. And I'm here to say it's great. That's the presentation. No, I have a little bit more. So what I want to do a few things. I have some feedback to give from patrons, the community, and then I want to do my best to quantify exactly what I mean when I say that things are great. I have a few different metrics that I'm pulling from, and I think they'll speak for themselves when I say that they actually are great, and they'll back up what I have to say. So I want to start real quick with the first thing I have. We have these sign-in books where anybody can write whatever they want to about the library. It's not anonymous; they've signed their names, so it's a little, naturally it's going to be great things. But some of the things in here I think are pretty cool and worth writing about. Like, congratulations, at last we have a new and beautiful library. Such a great building and such an important town asset. Well done. Great things to come. This beautiful building, beautiful and majestic. The new space is beautiful. I'm looking forward to many visits in the future. Such a beautiful space. Congratulations. What a great addition to Dayton. We love it. It's beautiful. We will be back. So excited about the library's new space. Beautiful. Brings back so many memories growing up in Dayton. Beautiful library. Renovations are amazing. The environment is very welcoming and charming. I love libraries, and I love when an old building is restored. It's a lovely building. I think it's lovely. It's really pretty. So lovely. Beautiful library. I love this library because it has fun events. That was written by someone who signed their name as age 8. So we really captured all demographics there. We also did an online survey. And what I like about the online survey is it's anonymous. And anonymity comes with a little more responses that may not be as safe. But this one came. I'm sorry, Mike, if I just have to let 2 people in. I'm sorry.
A lot of power. Give me that mouse.
Mark, you have printers at the library? For people to print?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You are.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So these are some of the response. I didn't pull every single response to the online survey. A lot of them really touched on very similar themes, very similar comments, but I pulled a few. Free books to read, wonderful library staff, librarians are so nice, they have Wi-Fi and a space to sit and work, A lot of great comments about the kids' room. And that last one down there, wish there was a better, more modern selection of curated or current trending young adult or fiction. You're probably thinking, why did you put this in your presentation when you wanted to talk about nothing but great things? I said, well, that's really touching on a demographic we really weren't able to serve in the previous iteration of the library. We had a children's section in the basement of Old Town Hall. We had the adult section portion of it at the trailer. Young adult and teen really didn't have a space for them. They kind of got pigeonholed in the children's section, and use kind of really dropped off dramatically on that. So that collection really didn't see the attention that it really deserved. However, I'm happy to say I take all sort of constructive criticism, as I should, constructively, and we actually worked to that and have a slide later on to show that we addressed that concern and we really made it into one of our strengths in the new building. So that's up there, not to say that, not to say that everything is all positive. It is. We took that and we made it a positive, and I'm going to explain in a little bit exactly how we did that. But to go on, I want to give hard stats, because hard stats are a really neat thing. You can't, the numbers themselves don't lie, and I wanted to really, really show the improvement. And I took September 24 through December 24, compared with September 25 through December 25, with the caveat that we were open for the full entire month in September 2024. We were only open for 11 days in September 2025, with the opening coming about mid-September. So there's a little caveat there, but the numbers I think are still pretty good. You can see how the numbers compare. Our full months of October, November, December in 2025 really blow last year's numbers right out of the water. This is just for the adult circulation. The numbers are there, but if you want to more detail, it's a 27.82% increase in just adult circulation, which I think is really very good. We also have children's books. As you can see, similar thing. September is a little lower than compared with September 2024. Again, that's because we weren't open for the full month. A little bit of a caveat there, but you look at October, November, and December, those numbers are all getting blown out of the water there. Oh, if you could. See this one? Yep. I can't see it. Okay. Good. Thank you. It's like it's a lot of power. This yeah. Great responsibility.
We'll put you to work, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Earn my keep tonight. And so the statistic, the increase here, 27.3%, 27.31% increase. So adults are checking out more books, juveniles checking out more books. That's all very good. Now I want to get to this one here, young adult circulation. Like I said, this was really demographic we weren't able to serve all that well in the previous iteration of the library. But I'm pleased to say that we actually are serving them now. We took that comment about young adult books not really having a great selection, more modern. We actually bought a lot of new books, manga, anime, that sort of thing. Teens are into that. So we made sure we updated that collection. And I'm pleased to say that the increase really showed, because with the new library being open, that circulation's increased by 65.92%. That's the most dramatic increase all across the board, whether it's adult, juvenile, or young adult. And I think that's a direct result of really taking the feedback and incorporating that into the collection so that it can get used more. It's a collection that the young listeners will want to use, and I think that's bearing out. So that's really good. I think another reason for that dramatic increase is because teens now have their own space. We have an actual teen room now where the resources are. It's not sort of scattered about or just off-site in the old building. So that's going to contribute to that as well. And we're happy to see that the young adult collection is getting used like we hoped that it would, having the teen room and putting a lot of resources to updating that collection. So that's really, really very good. So hard numbers are great. This is the total circulation when you add adult, juvenile, and young adult together. Overall, with everything, we're looking at a 28.26% increase compared with September through December 2024 to September through December 2025. And that's, again, taking into account that September, we only had 11 days as opposed to the whole month. So that's still, I think we're doing really good there. Like I said, very positive, all very good. Let's go to visitors. I didn't put September up there because that was a weird, it was just a weird month given that we weren't open for the whole month, not much compared to, but I want to look at October visitors and December visitors. October is the first full month we were open in the new building. December, traditionally looking back, has been the slowest month as far as visitation goes. However, visitation has gone steadily up, where December was busier than October, which I can't find statistically looking back an instance where that had occurred in the past 4 or 5 years, but it has now, which I think is a very encouraging trend, and it's one that I'm excited about. So overall, we're looking at visitation increase of 37.24%, which is higher than the circulation increase, which is great. That speaks to programs that we're doing, all that, so we have a space to do it now. I broke that down a little further, and I have some notes here. So looking at the October stats from 2020-25, we're open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. In October, 11.37% of all visitation came on Monday, 23% of all visitation came on Tuesday, 16.9% came on Wednesday, 30% came on Thursday, 10.2% came on Friday, and 2.1% came on Saturday. I'm not really surprised by those numbers. That's probably a reflection of the old library hours where we weren't open on Friday, being in the temporary location. So that doesn't really surprise me. We haven't really gotten our programming into full gear yet. So those numbers are reflective of that. However, in the breakdown for December 2025, the last month that I had actual data on, the percentages really got turned on their head. So Monday, the percent actually went down even though more people showed up. The percentage of visitation on Monday was 10.5% in December compared with 11.37% in October. On Tuesdays, it went down a little bit to 13.12%. Wednesdays went up. We're at 21.26% of all visitation occurred on Wednesday. Thursday was 12.6%. Friday went up from 10.2%, went all the way up to 22%. Friday in December was the day where the highest percentage of visitation occurred, which I think is going from 10.2% 2 months prior to a 22% visitation. I think that's really very good. And then Saturday we're at 20.5%, which if you look at the previous Saturday that I have for October, that was a 2.1% of all visitation came on Saturday. So you go from 2.1% of all visitors on Saturday in October to 20.5% of all visitations. I think that's pretty good. So Friday and Saturday, our lowest visitation days in October 2025, total those 2 days were 12.3% of all visitors came on those 2 days. Now in December, we're looking at 42.5% of all visitation occurs on the Friday and the Saturdays. And I think that's a reflection of people knowing we're open, having the actual library, getting used to our hours. And I think we're really filling in our programming now. We have Dungeons and Dragons that we're doing. Teens are really into that. We're doing that. That was so popular, we had to open a second Dungeons and Dragons group. That's pretty cool. We're doing tutoring and stuff. Tutoring is coming. We're posting that in the library. We're hosting foreign language classes for children in the library now. Our homeschool groups are really getting together and for story time, and even a place to do homeschool lessons. So we're really filling out our group, our programming on those days, and I think that's really reflected in how people are coming in, when they're coming in to use the library. And I think that's really encouraging, and it's a really good sign, and it contributes to our overall statistic numbers. Reference questions. These are people emailing us, coming and asking us questions, or calling us on the phone to answer questions. I have September up there just to say that people were asking about us. They're close. I didn't put October up there. I only put November up there. The reason I didn't have October up there, and this is no fault of any of the staff or the town, but the phones weren't hooked up in the library until midway through October. That skewed the stats a little bit. They're hooked up now. There's no fault of anybody. I apologize to Leanne in the Selectmen office many times who had to deal with all that, but it got done. So the November stats are up there. People have questions, and librarians, they answer those questions. Just looking at a lot of these people may not even have come in the library to ask these questions, but they know that we're there. They ask us these questions. We're looking at a little over 30% increase in just reference questions. So I think that's pretty cool. So we'll look at circulation, looked at visitation, and looked at reference questions. 3 big things that the library does. All 3 are about a 30%, over 25% increase, around 30% increase. But I have one more little trick up my sleeve on how to quantify the library's value to the community as best that I can. I'm using the MBLC calculator, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners calculator. What this does, this takes an estimate of how much anything would cost if you were to actually do this on your own. And as libraries, in order to maintain certification, you offer these for free. So what this calculator was designed to do is you as a patron could go in and you could check off how many books you borrowed or how many children's books, or how many programs you attended, and you could calculate how much free service you get from the library. But what the MBLC realized is if you put everything in for an entire time period and divide that by the appropriated budget, you can actually calculate the return on investment to the community that the library is giving. So I have this up here. Now, is this the be-all, end-all? No, probably not. But it's a really nice approximate way to quantify as best I can how much the Dayton Library gives to Dayton compared to 2024 to 2025. So I put the numbers in. I use all these stats. I want to point out, if I could, real quick. Here's the mouse. Interlibrary loan requests. It's very small. 24, 26 compared to 25, 30. What is that? Interlibrary loan requests are books from other libraries that get checked out through our library for a patron. Would I love to have every single book in the world on the shelves in our library? Yeah, I would. Can't afford it. No way are we going to store it. Just feasibly, it's not going to happen. However, there are other libraries around, and part of being a certified Massachusetts library is we're actually qualified for the interlibrary loan. A patron can put on hold on an app on their phone, or call us, or come in and say, I like this book, do you have it? No, I'm sorry, we don't have it. Or yes, we have it, but it's checked out. They can put a hold on it. Another library will ship that book to us. We get daily delivery. We ship books out, they ship books in, and so the patrons can be served that way. And so we actively use that, and again, that's part of being a certified library, that a service that comes with being a certified library, which we are. So we're happy to give that to patrons. And interestingly enough, non-certified libraries, it's not like patrons can go to another library, oh, they have that. For non-certified libraries, neighboring libraries don't accept library cards from patrons who live in a town with an uncertified library. So that whole interlibrary loan thing is completely cut off for any non-certified library, which is interesting. It's an unfortunate consequence, but that's not something we had to worry about 2024 or 2025. So anyway, when I put in all these numbers, I just took from September through December 2024, and the annual appropriation for that time was $317,201.27. I also added in the cost for the lease of the trailer. I know it wasn't appropriate as part of the library budget, but it was appropriate as part of a town budget, so they were paying for it, and that was $20,000. So I added that in for a total of $337,201.27. I divided that by 3 to get a third of the year. I'm looking at 4 months. It made sense. Take the whole budget, divide it by 3, take a third of the year. And what I got, so that number will be $112,400.42. Okay? I did the same exact thing for fiscal year 26, so September through December 2025. That budget was $315,602. I did not add in the cost of the trailer because that is not something that was appropriated because we're in a building, town of building. And that came to $105,200.67. All said and done, September through December came to $1.77. What that means is for every dollar appropriated to the library budget, the town of Dayton, the taxpayers, got $1.77 worth of free services in return. Essentially meaning the return on investment was 177%. Compare that with being in the new library, we're skyrocketing up to $2.28 for a 228% return on investment, which means it's a 28.81% increase. Now, is that MBLC calculator the most accurate be-all, end-all? Maybe not. But what I can say is that I use the same calculator for the same calculations. I use the same stats. So I use the same process both ways. So that 28.81% increase is real. And so that means, given circulation, visitation being up around between 25 and 30%, that makes sense to me. What that's saying numerically, and is the best way that I can quantify it as I can, that going from the trailer to the current library, just in that 4-month stand, the library is able to give back to the community 28.81% more than what they did in the trailer. And I think that's reportable. I think that's a very positive thing to say. I said when I started the presentation, things are great. I think that's pretty much hammers home. Things are really trending in the right direction. I think that number is going to get higher, to be honest with you. I'm filling out more programming. We're getting more people in. So that number, I believe, is only going to grow. And so I'm really proud to say that I'm working at the library that can give back that much to Dayton residents. And that's what I got.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to answer them. But I think it was I think there were a lot of positive things to report on. And I feel like I tried to capture all the positivity that I could in as many different metrics that I could.
Great job. I can tell you're very proud of what the results are. The number of activities that you do obviously have increased from
Yes.
prior years because we now have the space. And where do you see that going in the future? These are great numbers. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be hard to maintain those numbers. You're limited space-wise as well.
We are, but we're not limited with our creativity.
Right.
Yeah. So we're actually the February. I'm just working on the February newsletter now. It's the longest, lengthiest newsletter I've done in my time here. So we're actually filling out more programs, more day programs, more evening programs. We have the space to do it. In the past, let's say a year ago, when I was compiling these stats, I had Old Town Hall for one night a month, which was I wasn't going to complain about. But Old Town Hall is almost impossible to book on a weekly basis. Now I got to think, okay, can I do it on this night? And I said, wait a minute, of course I can. It's I only have to ask me.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have the space to do it. I know, for example, there's one day in February where we have a cooking club, then a drawing class, then we have book group, all right in a row on one night. Whereas previously, in the 2024 stats, you're looking at 3 months worth of programs.
Yep.
Whereas it's just one day worth of programs, and that's just one day out of a week, out of a month. So we have the space to do it. Oh,
Sure.
And so on that same day, we also have story time in the afternoon. Story time at 1, cooking group at 3, drawing class at 4, book group at 6. And
Where do
that's
your
just one
ideas
day.
come from for
Oh
activities?
yeah, so that's a great question. So staff is very, very good. We come up with ideas, but we also put feelers out with patrons. What do you want to see? Because I'd hate to do a program or book a speaker that I think would be popular, but the community wouldn't come to see or support or maintain it.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of feedback on. We do a lot with social media. I sent out the newsletter. A lot of word of mouth with people coming in. Community members actually will volunteer. I know this one particular Dayton resident, an artist and teacher, said, I'd love to give art classes. And so, sure. So we booked her to give watercolor paint classes for children during a one-day school vacation week, and then another watercolor paint night later on. I know. Being local, I know she will drum up interest with her own circles. So, just different things like that. We're here for the community, and
Sure.
so what the community wants to see as far as programming, what the community wants to see happen, that's what we're going to do.
Great.
I know last week we had a lecture on how to research the history of your house in Dayton, and a lot of people showed up for that. I had a
Sure.
jam-packed room. It was a very, very popular lecture.
Yep.
And I was glad to hear that because it came recommended to me that the speaker, having done a few different talks on that similar topic, it was recommended to me that I think the Dayton residents would really like this talk. And I said, okay, I'll believe you. I booked the speaker, and it was a great talk.
Sure.
Yeah. So we taken feedback from a lot of different areas to see if we can get the best possible.
The visitors that you have,
Yes.
how many are from out of town, do you think?
Well, I don't.
You can't.
I definitely more from in town for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. I can go.
Yeah,
back,
no,
I can go back and look at the circulation, see how many
I'm
people
sure.
are circulating out of town cards.
Right.
But I wasn't able to drill down
Sure.
that far.
The biggest challenge, which you even said at the beginning, was the young adult. Do you see? Obviously, it's winter, and although the numbers are great for winter, it's a hard segment to keep interested in what goes on.
Yep.
what are you doing, I guess? I understand what you've said as far as how you've improved those numbers, not the numbers, but the quality of programming that you offer. How are you going to keep them engaged to continue to come? It's people have always said Dayton has nothing to offer kids after school, which we're limited. We don't have businesses for kids to go to. They hang out at Dayton House of Pizza. Plug.
Worst places to hang out. You know.
Yeah.
There's far worse places to hang out.
But it's a great alternative, and I was just wondering when people say that to me, what I can give them a response as far as what the library has to offer.
Sure. So I know multiple instances when we first opened, teens came in and said, "Is there a place I can sit and do my homework?"
Right.
And I said, "Absolutely. We have a team right over there." And I noticed those teens come back, and they bring friends, which I thought was, I mean, that's awesome. That's exactly what we're there for. And now that we're increasing our selection of books for teens, and not just hardcover. I'm actually increasing on ebooks as well.
Okay.
Because library users, they're not just people who walk in the door. They circulation-wise, there are people who go on their tablets or devices and read ebooks. So we're increasing that. We're also looking to do some more programming for teens. The feelers are still out on that. Because what I think is difficult as well is even though there's an interest, teens are very busy with school, some after-school jobs, homework, school, all that sort of thing. So even though there may be an interest, a very legit, real interest, time and other priorities may also be a factor.
Right.
But that's not going to stop us from still putting the feelers out and still doing the programming that we feel that teens do want to see and would be excited to see. And we're going to keep doing that. At the very least, very minimum, we have a space for teens to sit and do the schoolwork, work on group projects. Like I said, we had a Dungeons & Dragons group that was very, very popular. We had to open a second one.
Yeah.
May even open a third one.
Wow. I didn't realize that was still popular.
It's still popular, very popular. So
Right.
it's at the library, so that's great. So like I said, we had the feelers out, and we're just going to keep doing that. It's a little bit easier to do it with the adult programs and children's programs, but that's, I mean, not everything's easy. I mean, some things are hard. You do the things that are hard, and if you do the hard things, the payoffs I find even more.
Right.
Yeah.
Community room. You have outside interest in renting that, or how is it that you handle those?
Yep. So the trustees recently approved sort of a building use form, or if someone has an interest in using that, we have all the guidelines. They sign off on it, and then we put them on the counter.
Okay.
We toyed with making the counter open for people to submit bookings, but that just playing it out in our minds logistically, that would have become a little unwieldy.
Right.
It would have been easier to have a point person in the library managing all that, and so that's what we're doing, and that's actually paid off quite a bit because a lot of the tutoring that has happened are outside people looking for a space to sit and do tutoring work. The foreign language class I have booked in February came about because someone is doing tutoring in foreign language. Said, "Hey, I'd love to really host a class for kids ages 5 to 10 to learn, teach Spanish and Portuguese." I said, "Great, we have a space for that." So that's how that came about as well. So sometimes, in that case, our public programs are informed by our private programs that are just looking to use the space as a venue.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nicole, do you have any questions at this point?
I just had a couple things. First, I just want to say that was extremely informative. Thank you. I know that probably took a lot of time putting all that data together, so
I think
thank
it
you.
was yeah.
Secondly, I don't know if I've ever gotten to tell you that we are very fortunate to have you. You came in and it was just a whirlwind, and we never got a time that it was a nice, calm time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you've done.
Well, thank you very much.
You've
I
done a great
appreciate
job.
that.
You stepped right into the role, and there was no gap in anything. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
I also love the postings by Laura, the librarian. I think I've said this to you before. She always has great things. It's what I know is going on through the library is everything through she posts. And then just about the young adults, you really got me all excited because I am very much about my kids, I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. They don't have cell phones. I don't think they'll have cell phones for as long as I can hold them off. So the library is a thing that I can see that people that are also trying to not have their kids on social media, not having their kids on the internet, is a place that they can go. And I think that's just great. I don't know if you still have, I know when I was growing up, I can't remember if we went to the library or if the library came to us, but at some point we all got a library card. Does that still happen? Like, I don't know if it ever happened here, but it happened in my town. Is there any time when you engage the children?
So it's funny you mention that, or not funny, interesting, because our children's librarian has mentioned now that we're out of the temporary space, because staffing that space was, it could be smooth, it could not, now that we're out of there, he'd love to go back into the schools and do school visits.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a way, we have exposure, library cards for sure. I mean, the biggest week we had, or the biggest day we had in giving out library cards was the day of the grand opening. And I have no doubt that when we do school visits, that's going to happen as well. I know the Daisy Scouts are meeting in the library, a place to meet, and one of their projects was to show responsibility. They each got a library card. So the more people in the library, the more library cards we are issuing out. And likewise, the more we can get out into the community, the more library cards we will then issue as a result of that. So I think the school visit's really going to go a long way. We're going to get more exposure, and it's really going to draw people in. And even if we don't draw people in, we're still going to give out the library cards.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Once you have it, children generally will go home and they'll be excited about it. Bring them in. So
sure.
That's great. I think that's great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you go to the schools and make a presentation?
Correct. Yes, the children's librarian will go to the school, make a presentation. Usually close towards the summer to talk about summer reading. But it doesn't have to be. But that's when it would line up.
They don't have access to the school library at that point.
Sure. And then that sign them up for summer reading.
Right.
Because we usually give out prizes. You read X amount. The more you read, the more prize you're eligible to get. That sort of thing. You know, it sort of draws them in.
Right.
Makes them excited. It gets us out in the community. It gets people to the library, but it gets the word of the library out there.
Sure.
Is really, that's the name of the game.
Do you get a lot of donations at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot more, which I don't have numbers to quantify that, which I probably should have, but we're getting a lot more donations. Before I came, actually, today, someone came by and dropped off 2 full bins of books. I think in my time, we maybe got 2 full bins of books in a year. Now we're getting 2 full bins of books in one day, which is, I think speaks to the visibility of the library. People know that we're open and that we are the library to accept books. And again, I just think it really speaks to the desire to want to help, want to be part of something,
Sure.
want to help, want to give back to the library.
Right.
And which I don't think people would be thinking if we weren't out there giving back to them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's now in the forefront of their mind.
Yeah.
Nice job on the presentation.
Thank you very much.
I saw on the
MBLC.
BLC
Yes.
calculator
Yes.
you have internet services for residents.
We do. Free Wi-Fi.
Okay, free Wi-Fi.
Yep.
So that just got me thinking about cybersecurity. Do you have any, do you guys have firewalls in place?
We do. So we're part of the sales consortium. It's all the local libraries around here, and they give us PC support, and they install a certain software on the computers. And we have a firewall with So sales takes care of all that for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Ralph, do you know we used to have a ransomware insurance policy? Do you know if we still have that in place?
I believe we do, but I will double check.
Okay, because I know the city.
That's part, right, that's part,
We do.
talked about this.
All right, because I know Alabar recently had a ransomware and it shut down their phone lines, and the city of Taunton did before that. So it goes around. So I was thinking what folks having access to the internet.
To get it, and as soon as you still maintain it. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, if I could, one of the biggest increases from 2024 to 2025 in the MBLC calculator is computer use per hour. It went from 2 from September through December in 2024 all the way up to about 800 hours. So, like the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. If you open a library, they will come. So, yeah.
And my last question is, when the new library opened, there was a change in hours, in business hours. And I know when the board discussed like the MOA for the union employees. We discussed a utilization study just to know how many folks utilize the library during what times.
Okay.
Could you share where that stands?
Yes, I have. So let's see. I have in my notes. Okay. So on Mondays, the bulk of the use came between the hours of 10 and 1, and we're open 10 to 4. On Tuesday, the bulk, I had two real big spikes. I had between 10 to 12 and 3 to 6, and we're open 10 to 6 on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, we're open 12 to 8, and I have the biggest spike from 1 to 3 and 6 to 8. However, I expect that those spikes to change now because I'm booking more programs in the afternoon than what I was back then. It was basically just one afternoon story time and an evening program. So I expect the spikes to change a little bit. Same with Thursday. Thursday, I was looking at a 1 to 2 spike and also a 6 to 8 spike. But again, I got more and more programs lined up in the afternoon, so that will change. Those spikes will change. Friday was completely different. We had a spike of between 1 to 3. That was our spike. And Saturday was pretty even. But I would say that from 1 to 2 was the lowest, and we're open 10 to 2 on Saturday.
Awesome.
Yeah. But again, I can come back with more information on that. Now that our programs are really kicking in a higher gear, those spikes may change. The program's really what's going to draw people in.
Awesome. I appreciate you giving us those numbers, and I assume from time to time you and the Board of Library Trustees will review your numbers to make sure all the hours are working and all that. But I know this, like you said, there's lots of changing to programs, and you probably won't. It takes time to build data to see what works and what doesn't work.
Right, yeah. Because I could start a program, like for example, I have 2 programs right now that I would love to make a series. I don't want to do that unless I know that the first one will be attended very well. So if the first one of these programs is attended very well, then I'll open the series. I didn't want to book the series and then have like 3 or 4 weeks in a row where like nobody was showing up. You know what I mean? I'd rather cut my losses after one than have to sit through 4 or 5 programs cutting losses that way. So that's all gonna play into how the hours spike, what time. Obviously, if I have a program that draws in 25 people, that's going to spike the data for that one particular hour. Whereas if I don't, so I'm spreading out the programs. I'm spreading them out because I'm running out of time to fit them all in, which is a great thing to have. So we're gonna have one program after another, and I think those spikes are going to change. In a few months, I'll have probably some more reportable information on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Serena, you're up.
I just get the
Get your mouse back.
get the mouse back.
Thank you.
Hi.
Serena, Town Accountant. I haven't been here in a while. Nice to see you guys again. The budgets I'm going to go over today are just very preliminary. It only shows what the departments have initially requested. Ralph and I are planning to meet with each department in February to analyze their requests. So we haven't done any of that for this presentation. And then during the month of March, the departments will present their requests in the Joint Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen meetings. So just a few things I want to point out on the revenue side. For state aid, the governor's budget came out this week, and it did increase by $36,000 over where we ended in FY26 for the conference committees. This budget will still continue to be voted on by the House, the Senate, and then the final for the conference committee. So that does leave a lot of room for increases and also decreases, which we did see that last year. One of the voting parties did have a big decrease, and then the next voting did increase it back up. So that one kind of fluctuates. On the local revenue receipt side, I did analyze the revenues through the end of December. And with that, we are going to increase the payments in lieu of taxes by $132,000. There were 2 new pilots that started paying this fiscal year. So I'm just gonna make sure that they do actually pay this year, and then we can increase that for 27. We'll also be able to increase the trash bag revenue by about 100,000. On the other available funds, we will transfer 250,000 from the ambulance fund, like we typically do. We're gonna transfer the standard $6,669 from the Title V fund, transferring 58,520 from the PEG Access Fund, and that directly covers the cable's operating budget. And then these budgets also include using 100,000 of free cash. And then on the expense side, I did just increase the snow and ice deficit to 250,000. As of yesterday, that budget was in the negative by 68,000, which means we spent 117,000 already. And it seems like this is going to be a heavy year of snow. So I think 250 is safe, but that number might definitely go up depending on what gets spent out of that fund. And then this also includes transferring 25,000 to the stabilization fund and the OPEB funds. So with all of that being said, if a debt exclusion does not pass, so without a debt exclusion, this will still leave the town with a deficit levy of $500,000. It's $501,611. If a debt exclusion vote does pass, this will add approximately $823,000 on the revenue side, with an increase of expenses of $181,000, which will leave the town in the positive $140,000. So even with the increased revenue from the potential debt exclusion, that brings us a positive of $140,000. So that's still pretty close, and there's still other variable factors within those that we just haven't ironed out yet because it's so early in the budget. But since we did get all of the department revenues, I just wanted to update the selectmen on where we stand before we start meeting, and then before Ralph starts making his recommendations, and then the departments coming to the boards.
How is state aid determined? Is there a formula they use? Is it?
They must, yeah. So
Okay.
it probably depends on their own budget and their
Yeah.
own expenses, and then how much, where they want to put that
So would
money.
a debt exclusion vote affect that either
No.
way? Okay.
The debt exclusion vote will only affect how much we can raise
Okay.
on our levy.
And another thing is, when you said about transferring from the ambulance, you said 250, but it's really, is it 450?
Sorry, 450,000. Yes, and I spoke to the chief about that, and he's comfortable with that amount.
Yep. Okay. Nicole, do you have anything?
See why the library went first. They were
Yeah.
a lot
Some good
more
news,
upbeat.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for putting that together. It's about what we thought was coming. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
Have we got preliminary budgets yet from the schools? No.
There was, I think BP gave us an estimate of the number of students. So we used last year's numbers. So we do have, that is kind of estimated in this budget. And Bristol Aggie gave us the same thing, student count, and then a range of a potential increase. So those are our estimates. But I haven't seen any numbers from either three of the schools.
A lot of, if I may, Bristol Aggie and BP are really, what we pay to them is definitely driven by student population. So they gave us those student population numbers. I've been reaching out with them for our, for the debt. I think Bristol Aggie gave us a pretty good range. I'm confident in the number I put down. It was similar to, it was a similar calculation I did last year, and we were pretty much spot on. Bristol Plymouth, they just went out for another bond anticipation note, so I'll be getting that information. I spoke with Nadine Rose, the finance person over there, and she said I should be getting that tomorrow, so we could massage that number a little better. So, and again, we've been in discussions with DR. So that's where we're at, and I just, we're gonna, I have to plan for, not that I want to, but we have to plan for no debt exclusion, and I want to bring forth to the, we're gonna work with our what we can for our budget, with the department heads. I think, we're going a little high with the group health insurance and some other things just because we have to, because that's the indicators we're getting. So we should bring that down, but, to close the gap, I will be introducing to the board, possible use of free cash. As I said, as I've been saying since the summer, without a debt exclusion, looking at limiting services and limiting workforce. So and we're starting to introduce that in this budget. So even with that, we're kind of we're seeing a shortfall. So I just want to prepare the board for that. So I think we look at these numbers every day, and as soon as we get better information, we go in and we tweak it, and we do the best we can to keep morale up, and we have a good group of people who work for the town of Dayton, and I'm proud to be their administrator every single day. So we do our best for them and for the people of the town of Dayton.
So Dayton Rehoboth has not given us any kind of indication.
Not yet, no.
You mentioned the $100,000 in additional revenue for trash bags. Are you anticipating the board to look at the trash bag prices again, or is there another reason for that?
If I may answer that, if that's okay. Yeah, we are looking at it, a slight increase. The 100,000, additional 100,000, if you remember last year, there was the big jump.
Mm-hmm.
And we initially anticipated that it would be about $76,000 increase, but it wound up being about 100. So Serena is very conservative when it comes to putting numbers in. She goes, "I got to see it for the year." So this is why we're able to put it in.
Awesome.
Yeah, that came from analyzing where we were at the end of December.
Mm-hmm. Just so for your planning, and I have only one opinion, but we brought the debt exclusion vote to the town for the presidential election in 2024. We're bringing it to the town again for the annual town election in just a couple of months. And everything I've read on free cash and our previous town administrators' warnings were that free cash is used for our capital projects, to pay down debts, to boost up our reserves, but it's not to be used as a Band-Aid to get us through one fiscal year to the next. Some of my research shows that when you have poor financial practices, it can reduce your bond ratings. So personally, I think as one board member, I think it's just short-sighted, and I think we just need to, if the debt exclusion fails, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does, we need to present a balanced budget to the town that doesn't use any Band-Aids, so that we can move forward in a way that we don't go through this every single year, utilizing free cash. And so, when you're crafting your recommendation to the board, those would be my concerns. What are we going to do to continue to put money towards our reserves, and what are we going to do the next fiscal year? I'd rather just figure that all out during this budget process, which is kind of what we told the townspeople too, that was what we were going to do if the debt exclusion does fail, was that there was going to be cuts in services, and that there will be impacts, so that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, without using the free cash, then it'd be a negative $600,000 that we would have to come up with.
Again, I agree with you, Martina. We've had this discussion, and again, I agree wholeheartedly. The prudent use of free cash for this, again, it's going to things free cash should go to, right? It's going to stabilization funds, going to OPEB, and it's going to the reserve fund, right? So I agree. So like what we use free cash for, over the fall, pay down debt, do capital things. Capital projects, and that's what I would like to see with the free cash. But we are gonna, we're gonna make the cuts. We're gonna make the services. I promise to you. I promise to FinCon. But at some point again, I may have to come before the board and we have to make those tough decisions, like, what is the next step? A lot of communities in the Commonwealth, are going into their stabilization fund to balance the budget, and that's really bad,
Right.
So but it's just, something I want to make the board aware of the next steps, what we're going to be presenting over the next few months, month and a half, and just keep you up to date.
Thank you.
I have a question. In regards to DR, what's our communication that's been with them? Have we communicated what we are looking for in regards to a number?
Yes.
Okay, because I know on our end, if the debt exclusion does not pass, we have to potentially let people go. Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do if this doesn't pass to help us get to a place that we need to be?
So we gave them a number that we're comfortable with, and then I could continue to have that discussion with them. So they said to reach that number, they're looking at, reducing some positions as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, you're up, bud. Great job on the road. Came out nice. I know you guys put a lot of hours in.
Yes, this was a lot of hours, guys. You haven't seen that yet.
No.
So, on the agenda, we're here to discuss, I actually have two positions of operator class 1 that are vacant. We have the posting that's ready to go out. The job description. Was a good thing the library went first.
It was what?
It was a good thing the library went first.
I think we should have went last, see everybody.
Yeah.
So, Tom, before you, as you know, we just had a recent resignation from the highway department.
Right.
The highway department was already down one individual, so we decided to sort of hold off on hiring that position. They need two, need two class 1 operators. I think this past week and a half shows the amount of work that the highway department does. I don't want to keep them down 2 bodies. I would recommend to the board that, I'm fairly confident that Tom's budget could support 1, as we are now. 2, I don't see it unless we do get the debt exclusion. As the board has the discussion, in if they intend to approve moving forward on the position and backfilling these positions, it would be my recommendation, just because of budget, current budget scenario we're in, for 1, and then to re-examine, see what happens with the debt.
Nicole, do you have any questions?
So last time we met, one of these positions was an assistant foreman. Is that correct or no? Am I?
That's was supposed to be on the agenda also, but that's usually appointed from within.
Okay.
So that can be done at a later date.
So it could potentially be somebody that you already have on staff?
That's who we would prefer,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to make sure I understood. No, I don't have any questions or anything, well, other than that.
There's not a revision date on this, so I'm unclear. Is this a new job description, or is this something that's been in existence? And, well, that's my first question.
That's the current operator class 1.
So was this job description just crafted, or is it was this typed up since our last meeting, or was this something that's been posted before and we dusted it off?
That's a good
and
question.
we'll do it again?
I believe it was on Karen's computer. She just replicated it.
Okay.
So the date, the date could be tweaked. That's in the language here. Hiring date.
Okay. So generally in the job description, there is a revision date or a vote date, so I think we should have that, once it is approved. I said in the last meeting about having a consistent title about Class 1 operator, and it's listed as both as operator Class 1 and Class 1 operator. I think it needs to be one or the other, I know it's just a reversing of the words, but I think it matters.
You had said that last time.
That's consistent, so.
Right.
Is a Class 1 operator, is that how you refer to it inside of the highway department?
Yeah, in reference to the union contract, yes.
Okay. And, so you've reviewed this job description?
Yes.
All right. Under summary description, it says operates light motorized equipment. But then it goes on to say that they operate backhoes and loaders and, I don't know if it was the word dump truck, but I think it's heavy equipment that they operate. Is that a fair statement?
They all are capable of doing everything.
Mhm.
So someone with a hoisted license could be a laborer for the day holding a shovel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I would, under summary, I would do, if you agree, it's light and heavy equipment. Is that correct? They could operate heavy equipment and light equipment?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's, all right, I would just do that just to clarify it.
So years ago, before I was superintendent, the Board of Selectmen found the value of it, having them all, not just for the dollar value per hour, but the essence of them all being an operator. Because during a storm, they need to load their own trucks, and then in the summertime, the same thing, you need to load your own truck. Both out in the street and on the property. So that gives us versatility, have just an operator sitting at the garage waiting.
Okay.
So it makes sense to be well-rounded the way we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does say operates all highway equipment, but not limited to pickup trucks, dump trucks, and it says non-CDL. But then it goes on to say there's certain CDL requirements. Are dump trucks a non-CDL vehicle?
We have both.
You both. Okay. And you did email us about what class is it? Is it a Class A CDL or E?
So the minimum requirement is the 2B with air brakes for the driver's license and the 2B with a hoisting license, and that's for a loader backhoe only.
Mhm.
It'd be ideal, and there is already a dollar value reference to the higher class, the Class A, so they're able to tow the trailer with the equipment on it, and they would be paid accordingly for that. But the minimum requirement's the 2B and 2A.
Okay. And what did the highway, what did the union say when they reviewed the job description? Did they have any issues with it?
I didn't send this by the union. This is something that we have on hand.
You did?
Yep,
Okay.
so he has it, and
I just received it today.
so we're waiting for their review.
Okay. All right, so the union just received it today. And why are the resumes going to you and not to the town administrator? Is there a reason for that?
I'm not sure why you would want it the other way.
Any reason?
Well, they would go, since it's the operator level, it's the lower level side, lowest level, first resumes would go to Tom, to superintendent, reviewed with HR, and then the next level I would take a look at.
So that's not in line with our policy. We have a hiring policy in the town that's been in existence since 2020, so this is nothing new. I think that we need to follow the policy as written, and the policy says it goes to resumes go to the town administrator's office. Inside of the town administrator's office, we have an HR coordinator, which in the past I have seen them go to either Karen or Leanne. I think it's important that it goes to human resources for a job description, for resumes. And once the application period is ended, they're turned over to the department head. That's what I've seen in the past. And policies exist for a reason. And one of them is consistency, having a consistent standard when we hire. the union just received it today and they have questions. I have a problem, there's one thing that always gets me going in these meetings, and that's hiring. Whether it's Board of Health, the assistant foreman, when we talked last time, it comes up time and time again about the hiring practices. I'm disappointed to hear that the union just got it today when it's right in our policy that the union has to have a chance to comment on things before they go to the board. The board should be the last person to get this. It should be fully polished and ready to go. If there was questions on whether it's a Class A CDL or a Class B, that tells me that there wasn't that review between department head and the administration and the union to make sure that this is a polished and ready to go job description. And, it also says we're a equal opportunity employer and an ADA employer. It doesn't say that in our job description. There is one line in the very first page that says we're an equal opportunity employer, but there's supposed to be a statement with that, and there's nothing about being an ADA employer. I just want to raise that standard with hiring and make sure that when we hire, we get it right every single time and that we're consistent. So I don't want to hold you up, and I don't want the board to be the bad guy every single time. But when these things come in front of the Board of Selectmen, I want it to be fully reviewed. I want to be confident that all of the right people have looked at these things. So I think that the board should table it for 2 more weeks, and this should come back in front of the board. I think everyone should read the policy, make sure that it's consistent with the policy, come back in front of the board with a polished job description that meets that standard so the board can vote on it instead of trying to extract who's looked at what, who wrote it when, and if we do vote to approve it tonight, we're approving something that is incomplete and doesn't follow the policy and the standards the town's created, and I think that's a bad look for the town.
Sure. How does that affect you, Tom? Waiting 2 more weeks?
Oh,
Are we in trouble?
We work with what we have. I'm more interested in the board's position about the 2 positions I need to fill.
Yep.
That's what I'm really after, because I need to really have a good outlook for our work schedule, what we can and cannot accomplish this year.
Right. Well, I don't think
I
there's any
agree
doubt
with-
that the job has to be filled.
I agree with what Mr. Pacheco's discussing,
Yeah.
and those are very important issues. But I also have those 2 positions.
Right.
I mean, right now, they're both funded currently. I'm sure they could be hired with a stipulation or something in writing that, the job's only there as long as the funds are available. We've done that in the past. It really hurt last year having that one person down a lot. And it reflected, and the residents saw that, the reflection of that.
I want to be clear, I support the highway department and I support hiring a position. I'm going to follow the town administrator's recommendation. He says we need to fill it. I agree we need to fill it. Of course we do. I just want what's brought in front of us to be ready to go, fully vetted by all the appropriate stakeholders. So I will support this in the future when it comes back to us and it's presentable and ready to go. I heard from my town administrator 1, and I agree with the 1 for now, personally. Until we see where we land with the debt exclusion vote, that will be we really can't, I don't think it's responsible to the taxpayers to do any more than the 1 until we see where that vote lands, because that's the townspeople giving a strong message to the board, and we all report to the taxpayers. I had something else, but I lost my train of thought. So I guess that's all I have.
Well, I have no issues with giving Tom the authorization to fill the open position. I agree with everything that you said as far as it does need to be cleaned up. I guess you really just want to know going forward, does the board support you in filling that position, correct?
Yeah, I'm sure you can consider a vote pending this get polished out.
That's what I'm leaning towards.
Why would it have to be done, why would it have to wait to 2 weeks?
Right.
If it could be done, ratified in-house?
Personally, I heard, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 meetings ago, you mentioned the CDL air brakes. You mentioned that in another job description. I think it was the assistant foreman that there was a problem with it and it was wrong. That's the first I heard of it. And then to see in another job description, there was still that discrepancy. I don't think it's fair to the Board of Selectmen that we get things that aren't, it says our department head is supposed to, I've done job descriptions. The department head crafts the job description, sends it to HR and the town administrator, and they review it. It doesn't sound like that was done in this case. So you have this incomplete product, and then the board is going to stamp it pending a review. I think the bar should be raised that when something goes in front of the Board of Selectmen, it should be what's intended to be the final draft. I know folks can't anticipate what we're going to say, and we may want to go a different way or change things, but I mean, this doesn't even follow the policy. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes to consistency. I don't see what's wrong with just holding it off for 2 more weeks to go back in front of the Board of Selectmen to make sure that we're following all of the proper policies and procedures, and to have confidence when people are being hired that we're following those and being consistent with everybody in the town when they're being hired. So I think it sends a message that we're okay with just an incomplete work. I think it should just have to wait just two more weeks. If we post this today, it's not going to help us with the snowstorm on Sunday. I understand it's a busy time, and I get the point about, we saw what happens. We saw what happened over the summer, but we also gave the highway department a shorter. They got to follow the same schedule that our town hall employees have, the 4-day work week, and I think that
If the timing wasn't good with 2 major projects.
yeah, I think that impacted it too. So, what standard are we trying to say that we want to have here in the town? That's my point. I just want to hold people to it.
Sure. Nicole, do you have questions?
Are we gonna hear from the union or no? Like, he said he had questions. I just wanna know before I give my input in case he comes and says something that changes.
If I read the policy right, the union would be working with the department head and the human resources department. They should all sit down and make sure everyone's in agreement, and then it should come to us as a final product instead of wasting the public's time and the board's time and everyone's. This should happen. That's why they all are there. We have the professionals in place to do that during the week, and then they bring that to us for that final approval. So I think that should all be worked out outside of our meeting, and it should be brought back with a finished product.
I have one just comment in regards to the policy that you had spoke about where the resumes should go. I understand we have a policy in place and that should be followed, but I think it's worth looking at. Just thinking of myself in the place that I work at, I'm the only nurse. So the resumes come to me because I'm the subject matter expert. Tom's the subject matter expert. So things can go to him and he would be easier to look through it and see, no, this is not appropriate, this is appropriate. I think that in the future, that's something worth looking at. Karen and Liam may not be able to look at these resumes of these different disciplines and be able to shift through it that quickly. So as I am in agreement with the policy as it stands now, but I definitely think that's something worth looking into.
I agree. I think we should review all of our policies from time to time, and I think they're all overdue.
Then does somebody want to make a motion on the floor to table?
I'll make a motion to table the Class 1 operator job description.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So Tom, we'll table it for now, come back 2 weeks, cleaned up.
Yep.
With,
So besides HR, Administrator's Office, and Union, there were some things that you pointed out of concerns. Can we have that in writing so we can address that?
yeah,
I can give you my notes. I'll give it to the town administrator.
Sharon, without,
Karen has them in.
that way there, it's really smoothed out before we come in, because if we don't address your concerns, we miss something. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah, like I said, Karen will have them in the notes that she just took. So, yeah, let's put the 6:30, she read them out.
I have them here anyways, I can hand them.
Okay, great,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, Tom, this is a review, discuss, and act, the safety signage near Dayton Elementary School.
So, I think it was a couple months ago, we received a request for signage from the Representative Thurber's office. Did you guys get that email thread?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Vitale took the time to write a letter that would come from the board
Right.
requesting that. There are some questions I have, and I had responded to that email also. It is really out of my jurisdiction.
Okay.
It comes down to local control, Board of Selectmen, you know, with the town ways, even though it's Mass DOT's jurisdiction. I do question though, are they looking, is that particular resident looking for a school zone on 138 or Center Street? To me, Center Street makes more sense.
I would think Center Street.
That's where the main entrance is.
Where the entrance is, it's where the address is.
It's safer. We already have one that's ending at 138 coming
Yep.
from the Aggie. That's, but I'm sure the state would look at that with their investigation.
Okay, and do the whole corner.
I would assume so, yes, and hopefully they get the information from the police chief that I would think they need to look at.
Okay.
But, yes, I support this.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't. It makes the most sense to have it there. I'm surprised it's going as long as it has. I don't know if they were waiting for the new elementary school or refurbished elementary school, but it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Nicole, do you have anything?
Have we talked about this before? I feel like this has come
Well,
up
we
in
talked
the
about the
past.
signage on Center Street for Bristol Aggie, but I don't think we've talked about the signage for the elementary school. I'm surprised it's going as long as it has without it.
There was one here, school zone here, with flashing lights just north of the town hall, and flashing lights just on the other side of the elementary school.
Yep.
That was when the school was here,
Right.
junior high.
Yep.
So I don't know what.
That's going way back.
So it might be it might be already in place because it was a school zone. I don't know how that gets removed, if it was
Okay.
ever.
Right.
It might be an easy thing.
Yep. Well, there's a letter from Justin Thurber.
It's to Justin Thurber.
Yes, I meant, from the selectmen.
Justin, the Mass DOT looked into this.
Yep. Okay. So I have no issues. Nobody else seems to have an issue. So again, this is a review, discuss, and act, so we need a motion on the floor to approve.
I make a motion to approve the letter about the Route 138 Somerset Ave safety concerns as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion or any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The aging highway equipment.
Yes, this is no surprise to any one of you three, I'm sure. And capital outlay and our finance committee is well in tune. We came up with different ways years back to try to formalize, you know, like a 3-year, 5-year, 8-year projection, whatnot. I'm not sure that's going to be fast enough. Kind of looking for the board for some advice, not to really act on tonight, but I'm not a firm believer in being a squeaky wheel, but it's getting to that point where we may need to do that.
What aging equipment? I know all of it is aging. Is there anything in particular other than you put a truck on every year to only get it removed?
For example, what caught my eye right now, we got 3 trucks that are over 30 years old.
Yeah.
5 trucks that are over 20 years old. I think that should get your attention right there.
Yeah.
And then we have multiple equipment. We have a facility, the facility itself with 1 mechanic that services 76 registered vehicles in town. That is astronomical. So with all the departments having a consideration of aging vehicles and 1 mechanic in a small facility is a lot to look at. So along with that, like your board to be in tune with our department, not just for possible equipment, but also we definitely need to increase our equipment repair line, which is already in the red, and Mr. Vitale knows about that. We'll probably look for a year-end transfer to cover that if needed. But I don't know what else to do other than you guys looking at numbers and the other boards and committees, maybe have an internal toucher truck type of deal.
Right. When you say equipment, as you have listed here, is it just vehicles, or are you talking
Combination.
combination?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. So like, as you know, 2 years ago, I submitted for a truck.
Right.
That didn't even make it on the warrant.
Right.
And another year went by and
Mm-hmm.
it went to free cash, which is
Yep.
fine because we depend on those people who make those decisions. But 2 years just went by when we should have been already considering another truck already.
Have you looked into what Mark had brought up last time about the backhoe, any kind of leasing programs?
We always do, especially working with the capital outlay and the finance committee. Those are discussions we have.
Okay.
Those are strong discussions because, how to actually make the purchase. Those
Sure.
are good ideas. That was a good idea to pay off the excavator early
Right.
because we did a lease purchase in that.
Yep.
I mean, that wasn't a large item, but that's a good modern tool, It beats the backhoe itself in a lot of ways. But, yeah, the lease option is very doable.
Okay.
So I can say I need this and that, but I know it's real financial problems, but I need the board to be in tune with.
Right.
We're in trouble down there.
Yeah,
It's
I
getting
know.
worse as time goes on.
Yep. And every year that goes by, it takes more of a beating.
And another thing, it's something to consider. It's nature. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it. So we're in a cold spell right now.
Right.
We can't wash the equipment.
No.
It's all over the equipment right now.
Yep.
And we use fluid film and whatnot the best we can, but we can't even wash it.
Sure.
So it's a huge issue.
Yep. Are your trucks stored inside at all?
The ones that fit.
The ones that
There's
fit?
some that physically cannot go through the door because of
Yep.
their size, because it wasn't built for a
Right.
garage. And then the number of vehicles, because it wasn't,
Okay.
it was a
Yep.
bus depot, chicken coop thing.
Yeah. Now, how'd you manage this storm? How many private drivers did you have, or private vehicles on the road?
So this year was interesting. We have 5 contractors now
Yep.
joined in with us, which seem to be working well.
All using their own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we're very close to full complement. We're not quite there yet, minus the 2 that we would
Right.
normally have. The amount I've told Ralph this before, a storm like that, it's not the amount, it's the duration. That's what
Yeah.
gets you. So you're gonna have people naturally have to drop out because they physically just can't do it.
Sure.
Ideally, it'd be nice if you rotate, but then they'd be wondering if they're missing out, why is that one getting more?
Right.
So it's problematic, but
Yeah.
we did manage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, the roads look great. Well, I think that it goes without saying that we are aware of the financial situation and certainly your aging equipment as well as the building itself. Like I had said earlier, every year it seems to go on a question, and whether it makes it to the warrant or not, it is squarely with the selectmen. Obviously, the money is tight, but at some point we have to pull the trigger.
So, should I be a squeaky wheel or just keep you guys in tune? I mean, I encourage like an inside toucher truck. You guys actually see it. You see the truck that we replaced the floor because we didn't have a floor in it. Stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. I've toured the highway department before, and I'm impressed with how much you accomplish with what little you have. And being the squeaky wheel, it doesn't hurt, but it all depends on, right now, I'd say the debt exclusion. But even if the debt exclusion doesn't pass, it doesn't mean we're not going to spend money.
Right.
It just has to be done wisely.
We have a big need.
Right.
Whether it passes or not, we still have the need.
Right.
And a lot of things don't move without highway.
Yeah. The 70 some odd vehicles the town has.
Yeah,
Are you
we have
talking police vehicles and fire
Police,
vehicles?
fire, highway, sewer. I believe we 76 registered vehicles with.
I didn't think we had that many.
The backhoe loaders are all
Okay.
registered, trailers are
Yep.
registered. Yes,
And you have one mechanic.
you have one mechanic.
We have one mechanic.
Fortunately, we have a crew that's well-rounded. We have several that can help out when,
Yep.
when the job's available. They're willing to help out too.
Yep. Are we using the school at all to help out?
Really, and some of the equipment they have in the shop, but really, no.
No.
The turnaround would not be quick enough.
Not convenient.
The police and fire, you really need to be certified to do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Some of the stuff.
Yep.
And our stuff, same deal. It's actually the struggles we had in last month is it's not the oldest trucks, but they still parts obsolete.
Sure.
So we're searching the country for parts, and
Yeah.
so to have the school involved would really
Right.
take a long time to come
Yeah,
back.
it would
Yeah.
hamper the process. The 30-year-old equipment that you have, I know it's Band-Aids that you've put on them, and we've asked for a lot from the highway department. What have, with the committees that we have, capital outlay, where are you with that? As far as, is there a list still of?
The list, because we haven't bought nothing, hasn't
Yeah.
really changed.
Hasn't changed.
Except for, I think, 3 vehicles went from fair to poor.
Okay.
So we got, I think,
Brilliant.
5 that are in poor condition.
Yep. So if you had you could only buy one vehicle this year, what would it be?
It'd probably be similar to that Freightliner, the International that we bought during
Yep.
COVID.
Okay.
That body's perfect for our highway department.
Is it?
4-season body, yeah.
Yep.
You're able to service it well. Yeah. Easy to work with.
Okay. Nicole, do you have anything?
No.
No? Do you have anything?
So I'm glad to hear everyone talking about the capital outlay committee and you asking for insight, being process driven. That's the appropriate board to go to for any concerns of that nature. So have you submitted a capital outlay request this fiscal year?
I'm not aware they have on schedule yet.
Okay, so the schedule is right in the town bylaw, it's been in existence for a couple of years, and you have until January 31st to submit your request to the Capital Outlay Committee, so you have a couple days. So I suggest that you submit your request with what you want, and the Capital Outlay meets in March, and they'll report back to the board in April. So it's right in that bylaw. I suggest you do your 5-year outlook, and you do your request for what your request is for our next annual town meeting, and hopefully we continue that process so that we can look at the whole town holistically on what all of our capital needs are. So that's my suggestion is follow the bylaw and do that committee's there for a very good reason.
How often do they meet?
As needed.
Just as needed.
But they do have to meet.
Prior to the town.
They have to meet in March per the bylaw,
Yep.
and department heads have to get those submissions in, to be considered per the bylaw
Okay.
January 31st. So if there's any department heads who want to be considered this fiscal year, they should be getting their submissions in.
Okay. All right. Anything else you have for us, Tom? Any good news? Like I said, the roads look great. It's funny because part of our street is Rehoboth, and there's a distinct line where Dayton ends and Rehoboth begins.
Yes, there is.
It's pretty sad.
There's a
But-
snowbank to drive over to
Yeah.
get into.
Yeah.
I would say that's the good news right there, because our supplier we didn't have enough material for that storm. So
Okay.
So we tried to time it the best we could, scraped as long as we could. And
Yeah.
we only had enough to treat it once at the end.
Yep.
It wasn't the way we normally like to have it at the end, but we knew it would work. And the sun did a lot of work the next day.
Right. At what point does in the temperature does the salt not work?
Salt's only good for mid-20s.
Okay.
With glasses on it, we go down into single numbers.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Tom.
right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Nicole, this is time for your announcements.
The Highway Department public notice, there is a town-wide parking ban in effect from November 1st, 2025 to April 1st, 2026. No person shall allow any vehicle to remain in the street as to obstruct snow removal. Bristol County Agricultural High School is hosting a Southeast New England Agricultural Conference and Trade Show on Sunday, February 1st, 2026, in order to bring farmers, food producers, fishermen, and service providers together to share knowledge and to learn about innovations in agriculture. The Dayton's Lion Club Food Bank will be held on Saturday, February 21st, located at Town Hall in the lower level. A message from the town's clerk's office. The annual town election will be held on April 11th, 2026 at the Dayton Elementary School from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Nomination papers are available at the town's clerk's office for the following positions. A Board of Selectmen, a 3-year term. Board of Assessors, a 3-year term. DR School Committee member. This is 2 positions, also 3 years. Park and Recs, 3 years. Public Library Trustee, 3 years. Sewer Commissioner, 3 years. Planning Board, this is 5 years. Another Planning Board, that is 2 years. And then Housing Authority, 5 years.
This is the first of 2 public inputs. Is there anybody at this time that wants to be heard? Yes, John.
I just wanted to
Oh,
touch.
Jonathan, I'm sorry. Cable's telling me you got to go to the podium.
Here?
Yes, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm blaming it on Cable.
I don't have my cane on me. I left it down the floor. so-
You're right there. Yep.
Okay, okay. And thank you for telling me that. I just wanted to pick up on what you were talking about a few minutes ago with regard to job descriptions and note that doesn't matter whether it's highway or it's a clerical position or anything, but under the Americans with Disabilities Act, it is extremely important that EEO and ADA requirements be listed in the job description. If there's specific issues or not, but regardless of anything, you have to have the language for the Americans with Disability Act in there. And I'm questioning whether or not simply for the highway department, but for other departments in the town, for other hiring potentially. I know this is something that was on the list of things that I'm supposed to be eventually looking at for town policy and town procedure. And I'm saying that because I think it's something I appreciate Selectmen bringing it to the attention of the town, but I think it's something that potentially systemically needs to be looked at to make sure that the correct language is in there. So I know that you tabled that for review, but I'm suggesting that before that job description and any other job descriptions in the town go out, that either the language be changed. I'm happy to work with the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen's office to make sure that the language is changed correctly so that any future job descriptions have the correct language in there. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it does have to be there. And it's a requirement of law. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, John.
We do have in the town's policy that we have to have that ADA and
Right.
EEO statement,
Yes.
and it says what the statement should be. So I would suggest when you work with a town administrator, just review that policy. It's like I said, it's been there for about 5 years, and as long as there's been no updates to the law, the town really just has to follow what's the language right in the policy.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else here that wants to be heard? About, does anybody have their hand up?
No.
Okay. Then we move on to Selectmen's reports. Is there any this evening? You have
No, I
anything?
don't have any.
Rob, you have anything? I just want to reiterate that, again, I think the town highway department did a fantastic job with the roads. And pending another storm this weekend certainly is going to hurt our budget plans. But Sarita has made us aware. Thanks. Town administrator's report.
This is a quick update. I'm going to be talking about the debt exclusion. And I just want to, first, I'm going to show it to the Board of Selectmen. So as you go through it, if you have any suggestions, I will make them. And then I plan to do a few outreaches with, and I'll make those announcements of our debt exclusion, presentation. Additionally, we received today from our town council, we're going to be doing the mailer for the debt exclusion. So he gave you the sort of the bones of it, explaining what a debt exclusion is, by voting yes, what it means, by voting no, what it means. We're still waiting on the arguments, pro and con, for the debt exclusion. Once we have that, he'll put it together. We'll bring it before the board, and our intention is to get it out by the beginning of March with the mail-in ballots. So people have that in their hands. So they're making their decisions. they could review the mailer. Additionally, the town clerk is looking to see if we could have these sort of printed up and present as people walk into the voting booth, so they could take a look at it and they can understand what they're voting for. So
It's gonna go with the mailer?
no,
Or is it gonna be a separate,
it's a
just at the
separate
same
mailer,
time?
right?
Okay.
It can't go with the ballot.
Yep.
It's a separate mailer, and then town clerk sort of checked that. She goes, "Oh,
Sure.
can we put them together?" They said no, so they're going to be mailed separately. But
Okay.
we're going to do it as close as we can in conjunction with the mailer, so people will have both.
Okay.
When the state election years and they do the red book and they mail that to every household, there's also something in the law that says you have to have so many available per every registered voter at the polling location.
Yeah.
So having, us approving this MGL that allows us to do the mailer, I think it makes sense for the town clerk to have them available at the voting location,
Yeah.
not in the booth, but
No,
generally there's a,
I like
it's
standing
where
in
the warden is or where their table is for people to review.
Yeah, no, our town clerk is reviewing that, and she brought that to my attention, so that's one of the things we're gonna do. So this is the I'll be doing the presentation on the debt exclusion. So as we go through it. So right, the question is, what's the difference between a debt exclusion and an override? It's put here pretty simply. An override is something that's permanent, and that a debt exclusion. And I'm gonna keep this really simple. As we go through it. So an override you have to list the purpose, and it's permanent, as opposed to a debt exclusion where you have to list the project. And the state says it's temporary, but to some people 20, 30 years isn't temporary. It's like a whole generation, but it does fall off. It's not forever, as opposed to an override. Say if you say the purpose of an override is to cover operational costs, and the override is for $500,000, and once you have the $500,000, that grows every year at 2.5%. Something also to be aware is that both overrides and debt exclusions are considered Prop 2.5. Anytime where you get funding outside of the levy, it's considered Prop 2.5. So a lot of people confuse that. They only think Prop 2.5 and override is synonymous, which it is not. Prop 2.5 is the overriding, and underneath it is the override. Override debt exclusion. So what is a debt exclusion? Debt exclusion is a common way for towns and cities to repay their debts. And it's, again, as I said, it's for towns to pay their debt, and it excludes the debt service from the tax levy. And I want to be very upfront. If the debt exclusion is approved, it will raise taxes to pay the debt. And then we're going to, further on, we're going to see, different levels, but the average annual increase to the taxpayer is $263.24. That's annual. So what is the debt exclusion for? So it's for the construction of the new Bristol Plymouth Technical High School and the expansion of Bristol Aggie. What's not included in the debt exclusion are operating costs for the school's salary, supplies, electricity. That is not included. What is included is Dayton's share of the cost of construction. So again, it's just construction costs. It has nothing to do with those schools' salaries or supplies or anything like that. This is a little slide I put in. It speaks to why student populations are starting to trend up for vocational schools. It's just kids are realizing that they have a, they get a trade, they have a good life, and so, as a result of that, both our local schools sort of had that expansion. So in 2018, Bristol County Advisory Board approved a $106 million expansion plan, and in March of 2022, Bristol Plymouth School District voted on the construction of the new school. That new school was about $305 million. When we first, the members were responsible for $180 million of that. The remaining was to be picked up by MSBA, $125 million. But project construction costs came down, so the members are now responsible. We had a little bit of a drop, about $45 million drop, $135 million. So the member towns are responsible for that amount. And I just wanted to put up, when you go into the ballot booth, what are you going to be seeing? This one is for Bristol Aggie. The next one is for Bristol Plymouth. But again, it's going to say for the exempt from provisions of Proposition 2.5. Again, I can't stress that enough. I know that causes people confusion. It's caused people confusion in the past. They said, I'm not voting for Prop 2.5. I thought I was voting for debt exclusion. They will be voting for debt exclusion. It just everything is falls on the Prop 2.5. So, what does the no vote mean? So, in the event of a no vote, the town of Dayton will continue. We have an obligation to find funding for the Bristol Plymouth and Bristol Aggie and our debt in fiscal year 27. Given the tax levy, given state aid, and I know Serena just brought it to your attention, we only got about, the governor put in, we only got about $35,000 more in state aid. So the estimated payment for Bristol Plymouth and Bristol Aggie's debt will meet or exceed our yearly growth. And combined with non-negotiable cost increases to items such as health insurance, premiums, and pension contributions. This is what we're facing right now. What we had a discussion, we're looking at cuts in departments for fiscal year 27 and this is a slide that I introduced to the board about 2 weeks ago. And if I could highlight it, right, this is our levy limit. And, what is our yearly growth? Our yearly growth is a 2.5% increase and estimated new growth. And that combined, for this year is $836,000. We estimate that the BP and BA debt will be $823,000. So normally we put that yearly growth. That's the things we put towards, right? Health insurance costs. That's what we put for capital, capital equipment. Everything we need to run the town, we use that yearly growth. But $823,000 of that $836 is being eaten up by our obligations to pay those construction costs. So we only have $13,000, almost $14,000 to put towards those items to run the town. Next year, we're in the negative. And then finally, fiscal year 30, we start rebounding, but very, very slightly. Again, what is competing for those dollars? Those new growth dollars, that yearly growth dollars. Something we could all relate to: sanitation costs. Back in fiscal year 2023, the cost to the town for curbside pickup was about $776,000. This year, we're looking at close to $1 million. And I think later on we'll see that we got some increase for our single stream recycling. 5,000 extra, so it will just kind of put us right over $1 million, and next year again over $1 million. It's just our obligations to for service is just continuing to grow. And additionally, we have to take care of the people who work in the town and health insurance. And even if you don't work for a town, you understand that your health insurance continues to increase. Again, in fiscal year 23, we paid just over $1 million for health insurance. insurance, and now we're looking at $1.6 million in health insurance that we pay out. And again, our yearly growth, this is what we apply it to. It is something, this is always, and I'm gonna read this one word for excess levy capacity. Excess levy capacity in Massachusetts refers to the difference between a municipality's levy limit and the actual amount levied, allowing communities to potentially raise additional tax revenue without exceeding the levy limits. So what we do previously, we had a big gap. We could raise money. Within the limit to do capital outlay, to do whatever we need to do. But as I'll show you, that we use that, the debt is consuming all that excess levy limit. And once we exceed our levy limit, that's when we have to, that's one of the things we have to cut more, and we have to introduce an override question. And as I said, the override question, that's something, we have to identify the purpose for it. And the override, it raises the levy ceiling, and it's permanent, and it grows every year at 2.5%. But just as an illustration, how's our levy limit? In 2022, we could have taxed $1 million more than we did. 23, 883,000. In fiscal year 24, that's when we start seeing the debt starts hitting the town. It drops to 141. Had a little bit of a little jump in 2025, and as you know, we were very, very close. We have access, virtually no levy limit. The debt, which was about $700,000 last year, is eating it up. So we only have, our levy capacity is now down to $58,000. So, and when you looked at earlier, when we were looking at that one sheet, that negative 500,000, if I could translate it onto the sheet, that would be, we would be down here. So our excess levy capacity would be minus $500,000. So vote. So what is a yes vote? So, it will, budgeting will remain a challenge, but we could finally settle the question on how we're going to fund the Bristol Plymouth and Bristol Aggie. The towns, be able to vote revenue growth, the town services next year. So we could, again, by having a debt exclusion, that free cash, we could apply it to things we should be applying it to. We should be applying it to reserve funds. We should be applying it to capital needs. But again, as I stated earlier, again, a yes vote means that citizens' tax rates will increase to handle the debt. So just to take a look at that, how do we determine the obligation? And for the most part, it's determined about how many students we have in each school. So, and then, the bond rating and the percentage that we pay. But the good thing is typically in debt exclusions, we front end load it, and then, your normal mortgage, it goes down, it gets less and less as we get towards the end. This is a chart, and I said the average is 263.24. But if you have if your home is assessed at $350,000, it's an annual impact of 171. It's at the higher end 750. Your annual impact would be 367.50. Again, this is based on a combined annual assessment of $950,000, which translates to 49 cents per thousand. So just to sort of give you an illustration where, everybody talks about the tax rate, where have we been with the tax rate? Back in 2016, Dayton's tax rate was $15.23 per thousand. This year we closed out at $12.45 per thousand. If we had the debt exclusion on this year's tax rate, the tax rate would be $12.96, would still be less than the 2024 tax rate. Debt exclusions are not new to the town of Dayton. We have several debt exclusions on the books right now. Our last one was for the police headquarters. That was from 2017. You know, the request was $5.95 million. The other one is for the roof at the DR High School, $6.7 million, and then additionally the repairs for the elementary school and the middle school. Just to note, those will be dropping off this year because not all debt exclusions are 20 years long, depending on the amount you borrow. You may want to do a shorter term. So that one will be dropping off.
Which one?
This one, the school, the
The
elementary
Elementary school?
Yeah.
Which is a savings of how much?
I'll figure that out. I was asking Paul to get that to me. So, to see, that will come off the tax rate. Other considerations, we do, as pointed out, we're an aging town. We have a bit of an aging infrastructure. Some of the things that we're going to have to look at in the future, where, fire station. I know we have that. We'll be speaking to you about that in a few weeks. Just to give you an update of where we were. Main Street reconstruction, it's going slow. If we had the ability to do a capital exclusion, we could be able to do that quicker. And then, as you know, Dayton Elementary School. But the thing is, unlike BP and BA, the Bristol Aggies, Bristol Plymouth, we will vote on these things. We will vote, do we want these projects? And then usually the debt exclusion process is you go to town meeting, and then you go to the ballot. And if it doesn't pass, those projects don't move forward. Unlike the Bristol Aggie project, was voted on. It was like a majority of the vote of the member towns agreed to it. So whether we like it or not, we have to pay that obligation. Again, some points to consider: absorbing costs with no debt exclusion, that greatly impacts the town's credit rating. It puts a stress on our levy, threatens the town ability to budget conservatively, and with not excluding debt, it puts the town on an extremely slippery slope where the debt obligation significantly crowds out, all four government functions and capital projects. And so this is not theory. This is we see it, and this is actual. Again, town election is Saturday, April 11th. The last day to receive absentee votes and the vote by mail applications is Monday, April 6th, and the last day to vote absentee in person is Thursday, April 9th. So again, we'll be sending out the mailer at the beginning of March, so people can have that in their hands and look at it. And that's my presentation.
Very sobering presentation.
Yeah, it's not. I should have asked Mark Proctor for some.
Yeah. Mark, do you have anything you want to?
No, I think the timing on the mailers makes sense. I know we've talked about that before. However, when do you think we're going to approve the final mailer? Because I think it's important that the public has a chance to review it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm talking with Matt. He has the con argument, he's got to get the pro argument. I think we should have it by the next Selectmen meeting.
I did notice on the website, under debt exclusion, there's nothing really there yet. Can this PowerPoint go up?
This will go. I wanted to present it to you because you guys have it. I did it to the department heads, and I tweaked it on your suggestion. You guys can go back, think about it, and just kind of run through it again. And if you think I should add anything and move slides around, I can do that, and then we'll put it up.
Sorry. Thank you. we had a presentation from our financial advisor about the debt exclusion a while back, and a lot of that's probably still relevant. Do you think that should go on the website as well?
I used, what I could use.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So this is the most up-to-date information?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. I used what I could use, you know, and that's it, but you know, sort of, you know, with the assessment, the effect on the tax rate and everything like that, so a lot of that, you know, I just, you know, I used it, see where I got it from, go straight to DLS, just punch in the numbers. But I did use that, I did use that as a base for this presentation.
Thank you.
The debt exclusion for the police station dropped off when?
It was back in 2017.
So when it would have dropped off?
I think that's a,
They had
that's a
close.
no,
It was
we're
30
too far
years?
out, I could get the numbers. I
Yeah.
think it's probably-
It was it an overwhelming vote? I know you weren't here.
Yeah, I didn't look up I could get that, but, and I wanna get, you know, we're trying to get the drop-offs. I know this one is dropping off soon. You know, I had the numbers when it's gonna drop off.
It was probably a 10-year.
Yeah, I know it was, we went to the October, we had a special town meeting, we went to a January vote. Similarly, special town meeting for the school debt exclusions, and it went to the, annual election. But, you know, I was, you know, trying to, you know, working with, members of our financial team, just to get that number, what's that drop off gonna be? And I could, you know, I could plug those in, see what, you know, what
Right.
that's helpful. It might be some good information to people that.
Thank you, Ralph. No other questions for Ralph at this point? Then moving on to old business, I believe we're going to review, discuss, and act the Dayton swap shed, which we're going to table for this evening.
I'll make a motion to table.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Review, discuss, and act donation of sick time.
Yeah, so we're reintroducing the sick time. As you know, one of our employees has received will be some additional sick time. Our initial presentation was to have to fill out 12 weeks, so we're not going to get to the days. All right. So the 100 hours to fill out for the 12 weeks, but she received additional more hours. So you know, we thought, okay, let's you know, when near the end of that, we'll come back. So we had a discussion with the union. We double checked and we looked at past precedents, and then she could, if it is the favor of the board, we could give her the remaining hours. Let me just the initial hours for. So we 238 in total. The board awarded 100 hours at the January 14th meeting. So we're seeing that if the board will allow the balance of the hours, which is approximately 138 hours. To the employee.
No, once we take a vote, I have some comments, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
but I'd like to vote on this first.
Okay, sure. Then is there a motion on the floor to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the request in its entirety as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right, so at our last board meeting on this topic, I wanted to vote on it first because it's want to take care of the employee. It's not about that, but I do have comments to make this better for the future. So we did follow the recommendation from the town administrator to do the $100. But I talked about, and I incorporated in my motion, on how we could improve like the communication, because there wasn't even a request. It was just a block of hours, but there was no request, no clear request from the employee on what they were looking for or what the town administrator recommended. Since that meeting, you reached out and asked if I'd support it, and I said if we had a positive recommendation from the town administrator and human resources. So I still never heard if human resources did recommend this, and it kind of goes back to just processes when we have these human resource issues or issues that are non-routine that go in front of the board of selectmen that have a cost impact to the taxpayer and to the town budget. So I did send an email about it, and I never got a response back. So I just want to read it into the record so that there's no doubt on what my expectations are as a selectman going forward when we have, again, these non-routine or human resource questions. So on January 19th, I said, hi, Ralph and Karen. I wanted to follow up on some of my comments at the last Board of Selectmen meeting in regards to both the FMLA transfer for Ashley and the assistant foreman position for Tom. Some questions I will always have for these human resource questions that incur cost are the full scope of the question. Is there a known precedent? Is there contract language? Has the town administrator reviewed it? Comments, recommendation. Human resources coordinator, reviewed, comments, recommendation. Town accountant review. What is the financial impact in simple terms? Fully funded in the funding source. Reviewed by the department head. Comments and recommendations. Reviewed by the union. Union comments or concerns. Labor attorney if necessary, and other. For the FMLA transfer, I would have liked to have seen more information included in the packet. I believe we would have had a different outcome. In the follow-up, I'd like to see if there is any info in the union contract, what the law says, what the industry best practice says on the subject, and answers to the questions above. I believe if we had that checkoff list for the job description for the assistant foreman or assistant to the foreman, I believe the job description's final product would have looked different than what was presented. If you could implement something along these lines for human resource and other non-routine requests, I would really appreciate it. I'm looking for the board to be as informed as possible on requests coming from the town. I think there's progress to be made in this area. Thank you again, Mark. And so walking in today, I'm just disappointed that I don't have any contract language. I hear that you talked to the union. I did get your email that you recommended it, but I never had anything from from Human Resources. There still was never anything kind of put in writing. So I just want to see us do better in the future for these requests, just so that we can I'm just trying to make it better. I'm not trying to make your job harder or I'm just trying to make sure the board can be informed and we're not guessing. Yes, that's all.
Thank you. Ralph, do you want to respond at all? No.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I sent the email and.
Sure.
Anytime if you have any questions, if I don't have a complete email, please reach out.
Okay.
Justin has his hand up. I think it's Justin.
Oh.
He's high-fiving us. I don't know.
Okay.
No, I was just, I wanted to just advise on questions of HIPAA violations with this being an FMLA matter and the employee's name being mentioned, just for future reference.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree.
Absolutely. I was surprised to see it in here. Then on to new business, please. A review, discuss, and act acceptance of the road layout for Muddy Cove Lane.
So, in your packet, I have the ins and downs of Muddy Cove Lane. This goes back to the Pleasant Street Bridge project. So, Pleasant Street Bridge project. Just a quick recap. We have the total project is about $6.2 million. We do have $3 million in federal funding for it. We are working with the state. I think positively progressing to get the balance of that money to do the project. The project is moving forward, and it will go out to bid next. It's targeted for next September. But some of the things that we have to do, we're doing assessments of the property. And one of the things is Muddy Cove Lane. So Muddy Cove Lane is a private lane. We're going to be doing some work to it, so you can't do expend public monies on a private road. So we're looking to accept the road. So part of the acceptance process is that the selectmen have to vote on their intent to accept the road, and then forward it to the planning board. The planning board then has public hearings on it, and then it's presented at town meeting. So this is the stage we're at.
Hey Tom, what kind of shape is Muddy Cove Lane?
Fair.
Okay.
I have the full Mylar if you wanted to take a better look at it.
I know this is off subject. Money that we're looking to get reimbursed from the state, will any of that go towards Muddy Cove Lane and refurbishing in any way, or?
Whatever is included in the Pleasant Street upgrade would be part of it.
That would be it. And will they reimburse us for what we've already paid out as part of their package?
No, because part of it.
It's just the
right,
difference.
Right, so, part of it, to advance to the next level, we had to do the engineering study, which was approximately the $600,000, and from there, that unlocked the initial $3 million, $3.2 million, and then, and now we're looking for the state to get the additional $3 million. We don't have, there's no matching associated with the second $3 million. So we've been working with our legislative delegation. We've been working with Congressman Arschenschloss's office and the DOT, and they are fully aware of the financial status of Dayton.
And acceptance of the road is done at annual town meeting?
Yes.
So this is a review, discuss, and act, just whether we want to refer to the planning board. Do you have any concerns? No? Okay, then is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make the motion to forward the acceptance of road layout for Muddy Cove Lane to the planning board.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Review, request, this is a review, discuss, and act. Request to appoint Kenneth Fredette as a member of the Open Space Committee. Jonathan, you want to talk?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, as you all know, there's a available position for open space. Ken put his name in the hat. It's the only name in the hat for us to have an interview with. We met with him last Thursday, and all voted affirmatively to welcome him as a member of the Open Space Committee. So we're here tonight to ask the Board of Selectmen to approve that. I will leave it to Ken to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about who he is.
Sure. Hi, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My wife and I moved to Dayton in 1992. So I thought maybe after 33 years, maybe I might be a good time to give something back. I'm a lawyer, actually, so is my wife. Started out in Bristol County as an assistant district attorney working for Ronald Pena back in 1990. Paul Walsh then beat him a year later, and I worked for Mr. Walsh for 3 years. I started the law office of Kenneth E. Fredette in downtown Fall River in 1994, and kept that office open, focused primarily almost entirely, in criminal defense work in the Superior District Court, federal courts of the state of Massachusetts. In 2024, an offer came from the city of Fall River to work as an assistant corporation counsel for the city of Fall River, and I've done that for the past 2 years. I got to meet Mr. Pacheco during our vote recount a couple of months ago, well, within the last month, actually. And I actually mentioned to him, like, it might be time. My wife and I raised 3 kids. They went through all phases of Dayton education with the elementary, middle, and high schools. They went to great colleges. They're well employed, and they're no longer with us here in Massachusetts. So, again, focusing that time I had on being a good husband and a good father, I didn't offer anything for the town of Dayton, but feel that it's time now. The Open Space Committee is something I'm very interested in, and I already having experiences in Fall River. We have a land trust established in Fall River, and one of the many hats I wear is to advise in regards to issues that come up, not just with the land trust, but we have Preservation Committee, Historical Commission, Planning Board. So, I feel that I have some skills to offer. I've been a litigator for 36 years. I think that may lend itself well into a committee organization. I've met the fellow members of the Open Space. They seem like a real dedicated and highly qualified team. I'm well aware that, and we've certainly had a great education tonight about the financial realities ongoing Dayton. People who live here, including myself, we love our open spaces. We love the land, the lack of development, but that comes at a price. And there's going to be some very significant issues already affecting the town, and certainly in the years ahead, that I'd like to be a part of, in that balancing of interest between bringing tax income into this town while at the same time maintaining the largely rural nature of where we live. Again, the folks on the current members of the current committee were very gracious and accepted me and voting me to appear before you tonight. And I'll take any questions and do my best to answer as honestly as I can, and ask you ultimately to accept my volunteer position on the Open Space Board.
Sure. Thank you for applying. It's a delicate balance between open space and need for business, as you're well aware. It sounds like you're well qualified. If Jonathan recommends you, then that's good enough for me. Nicole, do you have any questions?
No, it sounds like your experience will be very valuable, and thank you. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to volunteer. You did it, and thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. I'm so happy that you're joining the open space, and your background will be so well needed and utilized by the Open Space Committee. So thank you for stepping up and joining. Jonathan, will you have any vacancies after this? Or?
As of now, as of today, we have filled all our vacancies, and we are a full slate and rocking and rolling. And we've got some heavy things that we're attacking, and working on. As mentioned, we want to really start looking into different aspects of land trust. We've had some people come and talk to us. We plan to really pursue that. As you all know, we're involved in a few other things as well with regard to the zoning project that we're working on and a few other things. So, no, we're at full capacity, and we're really getting up to speed on everything that we're doing.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you to both of you. This is a review, discuss, and act, so we need a recommendation on the floor.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kenneth Fredette as a member of the Open Space Committee.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We just have to see the town clerk to get sworn in at some point. Yep.
Sworn at.
That comes later.
Letter requesting legislator accept an act relative to the appointment of retired police officers as special police officers in the town of Dayton.
This, yeah, if you remember our special town meeting, we
Right.
advanced the petition to have special police officers be able to work with the 70. We have to advance this through the legislature, and been in connection with Kelly Dooner's office. So she sort of laid out the things we need to do. One is a letter signed by the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and then we have a copy of the vote and the wording of the legislation.
Nicole, do you have any questions? No. Okay, then is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to, for a signature for the letter to the legislature as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Approval of the warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants paid by January 22nd, 2026, 3826 for $114,088.30, and 30B-26 for $1,189,110.58. Warrants paid by January 29th, 2026, 31A-26 for $143,433.95, and 31B-26 for $258,533.87.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence. We got a letter from Borges Trucking, increasing disposable rates. Or disposal rates.
It's the recycle disposal rates. We studied that on it. It's something we have, we factored in. It was a letter to the selectmen just to make you aware. We're off by a little bit when we did our calculations. Like as I pointed out earlier, this is going to affect by increasing that cost by about $5,000 for this year. Given we were based on the amount of tonnage that we.
Okay. On to minutes.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
So it's about a 10% increase. Is this something that they review once a year, every 3 years? Do you know what their review cycle
Right.
is?
Yeah. They they kind of do it every year. I've just 2 years under my belt, and I know each year that they've done it.
Do you know, is it generally a 10% increase, or is that something unusual?
It's 10%'s a little high. I had originally calculated 7%.
Okay.
Because that's kind of been the standard. So, and I think in this letter, disposal costs are getting more and more difficult. So.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of January 14th, 2026.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Second public input. Is there any more? Yes, Joe.
I have two things.
Sure.
Short. For the record, Leonard Hogg, 760 Main Street, Dayton. Earlier this evening, we heard Mr. Ferry speak about some of the difficult conditions that his men, and I might add, they did a fine job on the roads, the recent storm, are facing. Yet, a few minutes ago, there was a presentation that included capital outlay projects. The one that wasn't on there, it's something we talked about 4 years ago. The highway safety bill, or some upgrades so those road conditions can go away. Partly so we don't run into problems with EPA, and also for the pride that the town shows back to those workers who tremendous dedication to this town. Secondly, prior to the debt exclusion vote, we get a breakdown of the impact on each department if the debt exclusion fails. Or will it just be a total of the shortfall? And then we will have long discussions about how that's gonna be broken up, especially the way the budget process doesn't quite coincide with the vote. And I might add, from a political point of view, people will be looking specifically how these cuts will impact public safety. I think people are gonna wanna know that before they make a vote. That will play a huge role, I know, in my case. You know, if we're gonna have major cuts, slashing public safety, and some of the other key critical departments to this community, I might be more willing to reach down and pay a little bit extra on my taxes. I'm sincere when I say that. I haven't made up my mind how I'm gonna go, but I wanna see specifically how that's gonna impact departments. If you remember, Peter, Mike Mullen had put together a proposal that was pretty specific. It may not be applicable to today, but it was a clear pathway. You know, what departments were gonna get hit and how much. Not specific if it's gonna be people or, you know, supplies, but a number.
Right.
So.
I know there's an overall number. We probably have a breakdown, or you do already, of departments and how they will be hit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else at this point? No? Okay. And a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.